ho, ho, ho! Good tidings! Well, stop by, Stockings. Welcome to the stream.
Hello and welcome to Qyjari's Curious Crafts. Today on Aunt Anne's Tree, we're going to finish making our little gingerbread hula ornament. So let's get started. Let me talk about the tools and materials first. So let me switch that screen. All right. So if you joined me last week, you saw that we had gotten this much done on the last week on our little gingerbread doll ornament, and here's the supplies that we need. Now you can see all the tools here that we use and the supplies, but I'll just go over them very briefly. You'll need several different colors of felt. I use this brown felt that has sort of not a pattern to it, but multicolors on that to make it look more like gingerbread. I want to make sure my camera is not autofocusing. It does this all the time. So I'm just going to double check that real quick. And you'll also need these colors of felt as well. I've got a fuchsia, sort of a reddish salmon color, a gold, and then this bright orange. And that's to make the flowers. We made those last week, but I'll go over that again briefly, how to do that. I buy this felt by the yard. It's less expensive that way, and it tends to be a little thicker. It's a little better quality felt. And I would recommend always getting the quality felt when you can. It just helps make your ornament a lot more sturdy. So we got as far as sewing the rickrack, the baby rickrack, which is this white rickrack, around, and I showed you how to do that with simple running stitch. I'll show you the back of it. It's just a simple running stitch, and it goes all the way around the exterior, about a 1/4 inch from the edge, maybe a little less. That gives you enough room to sew the two halves together, the two parts, the front and back together, and with a blanket stitch. And I showed you how to do a blanket stitch by using the this blue thread on. I hope you can see that. Okay, I'm going to raise it up, but let me just double check this camera. Make sure that it's not autofocusing. It does this all the time. You can see. You can see how I made there some white. That was to make the mouth. It doesn't look like it's autofocusing, so that's good. So, all right. So we also added the mouth, and the way we did that was with this slick paint here. We also need, in addition to this paint, you'll also need this gold glitter paint, and the gold glitter paint is to put inside the flowers at the top. Her little flowers that make the crown of her hat or her headband, and then the little flower here, and you can see there's some gold glitter paint there. Now my friend Jen at Pixelscapes on Twitter, she said that she was laughing because her boob buttons look like hot cross buns. Well, they do. It wasn't intentional. It was that these are the buttons that I had plenty of in an old button box that I'd been given by probably my Nana, my mother's mother, and I just continued with using them. And I guess it's because it's the closest thing I could find to look like a coconut bra for my little hula gingerbread ornament here. These buttons are a couple dollars each at the local fabric store, but you can probably find them a little less. These are not leather. They used to be leathery. I think these are just plastic. The leather ones can run you up to $5 for the pair. Of course, I used a coupon at my store, so I got it 40% off. And that's always handy. I always keep all my apps on my phone updated with my local craft stores to get all the discount coupons that they offer. You could also use seed beads. These are gold seed beads, and I did use these on the original hula gingerbread ornaments that I made in place of the gold glitter, but it was a lot of extra sewing for not a lot of oomph. I like the glitter paint better. It catches more light than some of these pieces do. You could use sequins, I guess, but those are a little bit bigger. It just depends on how much effort you want to put into making your ornament. Now, I also have on this one black eyes, and that was because when I made this one, I couldn't find the beads that I had previously used. This was a bestseller for me a couple years ago, and I couldn't find the beads. I finally found them again, and I left them on this packaging so you could see they're glass beads. I'm not sure what company they are, but I did get them at Michael's. Probably on sale. Always get them on sale. And so I bought a couple strands of those, so that'll keep me in in eyes for my gingerbread hula doll for a long time. Okay, so you'll also need, of course, as far as tools go, you'll need some good sewing scissors. I have both sizes. This is more for fabric, and this is just for some of the little sewing clipping that I do for the thread and the floss and some of the little pieces. You'll also need some fiberfill. Again, don't skimp on the fiberfill. I use the good quality brand. The cheaper brand tends to pill and get clumpy, and you can feel that sometimes underneath the felt. These are tools that can be used to stuff your ornaments. They're varying sizes. You basically put the tube inside the small areas and then stuff the stuffing into the top. I showed you how to do that. If you want to go to YouTube, or I think it's still on Twitch here, video on demand, and watch the old episode, it showed you how to stuff those, especially in the small, hard to reach areas. You can also use these. They're called hemostats, and they're an actual medical nurse use these tools for surgeries and other purposes. I find them great to pull stuffing and push it into the nooks and crannies, because you can grab a hold of that. It's not sharp. It's just a good grasping tool. And it has a nice long fine point to reach into some of the smaller areas. Okay, so this is how far we got last week. We got as far as putting the stitchery on, like I mentioned. This is our icing. It's the rickrack. Then we sewed the back of it onto the front of it with a blanket stitch, and we use this color. I always try to match the color as close as I can to the felt. This is DMC brand 434. That's the color I got to match. I usually just take my felt over to the floss section and match it up, standing right there, the hundreds of colors of floss. And we also applied this tiny little loop at the top. And I explained last week and in other previous episodes of ornaments that I used to make the loop very long, an inch or so long, 2 inches long. And the reason why is because I thought that would be a good way to hang it on a tree. Well, some people like to hang their ornaments closer to the branch and some further away. So I decided just to put a loop there, and then people can use whatever length ornament hook they'd like to use to put their ornaments on their trees, or wherever you want to hang it. You could hang it. My in-laws hang all my ornaments that I make for them on a string garland across their front window. So I decided to limit that, and I always choose an 1/8 inch, that's hard to say, silk or satin ribbon. These are very inexpensive. You can get a whole roll of these at a craft store for sometimes 50 cents a roll. And it's just the 1/8 inch satin. You don't want to use grosgrain, which is that bumpy ribbon, because that doesn't look as smooth. And I always try to get the ribbon to as match closely as I can to the felt. This one's a little darker than I'm able to match it usually very well. But this one's a little darker. That's okay. It'll get hidden behind the flowers on her hair. See, on this one, you can see it's kind of hidden behind there. Or not her hair, but on her head. She doesn't have any hair. Okay. We also, as the last step last week, was to add this slick fabric paint. And the reason why is because it takes 24 hours or longer to dry. It smears if you touch it after it's applied, and you don't want to touch it at all. What we did do is once it was applied, well, we tested it out first, and then afterward we took a pin and got all the bubbles out. Now, I didn't like the way that one looked after I tested it, so I tried another one, We got the bubbles out, and then we finally applied the smile to her face, and I think it looks great. It's meant to look like icing, and it is, as you can see, completely dry. So now we're going to add the eyes, and the reason why we didn't put the eyes on ahead of time is because when you work with ornaments a lot, especially these small handful ones, anything you sew on the face, like beads, they tend to get loose after you've worked with them for a while, especially when you had to work with all this and then applying this outside stitch, this blanket stitch, and then stuffing it. They tend to get a little loose, so I want always put those on after that part is done so that we can they don't get loose. Okay, so here's the eyes I have for this one, and I've already threaded my needle. I'm using the same color floss that I used for the blanket stitch around the outside. I always like to match the color of
Well, look what the cat dragged in.
Hello! Hi, Rainick. Welcome to the stream. I was just explaining how I always use the same color thread for the beads or other such things that I put, so it kind of blends in. You don't want to use white or black or anything that's going to be an off color. Now you can decide to put the eyes on your gingerbread. I know you're following along, Rainick. It's okay that you're late. I got started and I was just talking to myself, but that's okay. You can put the eyes wherever you want. You can put them where I have them here in this centered area, or you can make them wider. Some people, maybe that would be cute to have them wide like that. I don't know. Of course, that white part of the bead won't show. It'll just be well, they're not going to stay on there very well. I should put a, you know what I'll do? I'll put pins in there to show where we're going to put the eyes. So do you think they would look cute further apart like that? Or closer together? Or I like them kind of farther apart. It's different from that one. Maybe we should do that. You got work? Oh, that's okay. No worries. And you're probably freezing up there too. You like them further apart? Yeah. So I'm going to bury the knot. I've already tied a knot at the end of this. I'm going to bury the knot. And the way I do that is I'm going to push the needle through a area that I know is going to be hidden. For example, since the flowers on her crown here are really covering up that rickrack at the top, I'm just going to put the knot up there. I'm not going to go through the back, obviously, because I don't want this to be squeezed together with her eye. I want to hide the stitch. I don't want that to be seen, so I'm going to hide it up here, and let's put them wide apart. I think that's going to be cute. It's hard to see brown on brown there, but I think we'll be all right. Where to put those eyes? Here they are. Now these beads, just to give you an idea, I love this cutting pad. It has measurements right there. They're about 1/4 inch wide. Now, I don't know, let me get my readers on. I don't know if this set classifies them in, these say that they're 30.5 centimeters. Usually they have a millimeter designation, but I don't see that on here. So they're 30.5 centimeters in width, which is, I guess, close to 1/4 inch. But you can use smaller ones if you'd like. You don't have to use the large ones. Alright, so do we want it? Yeah, on that side. So I'm just going to put this one on, I'm going to go through a couple of times right there to make sure that it stays on. So there's once, let's do it 3 times. These are big heavy beads. I also want to make sure that anyone who plays with this ornament like a small child, this doesn't come off. I would hate to have a... they're not meant to be toys, but if someone did give them to a child for a holiday gift as an ornament, then, you know, I wouldn't want them to play with it and have a potential choking hazard. So I'm going to try to make them as secure as possible. And like I said, I don't sell them as toys. But once the customer buys them, I don't have any control over where they go from there. So I'm just trying to be as safe as possible. I have kids, and I understand. They put things in their mouth all the time. Well, not anymore. A little bit older now. Okay, so I'm just going to do this eye. What I've done is I've lined it up with the top of her mouth, so they look relatively... what's the word I'm looking for? The distance is the same. Symmetrical. And then to finish off, I'm going to take this thread, finish the stitchery, the putting it into the felt, and then I'm going to run that stitch back up to the top, the needle back up to the top, and that's where I'm going to tie my knot, or create a knot, I should say. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do something similar to what we do when we finished the blanket stitch around the edges. I'm just going to catch a little bit of a previous knot or a previous thread stitch and wrap this around a couple times and then pull it through. And then I'm going to bury, again, I'm using that word, I'm going to bury the thread by going through and out the back anywhere, it doesn't matter, because you're going to hide it. You're going to give it a little pull, and at the very edge, without cutting the felt, you're going to clip it, and then that thread just gets buried in there, and it's hidden, and it shouldn't, what is that? It shouldn't pop up. Something has popped up, and I don't know what. Well, that'll get buried by the, flower at the top. Not to worry. All right. So I love the eyes like that. They look so cute. That's adorable. Good call. Good call on that. Oh, you're talking to me now. Okay. Oh, symmetry. Yeah, thank you. Oh, we actually got an emergency. Yes, I saw. You're like at 65 degrees up there. That's terrible. That's what we wake up to in the morning, and I crank it up because it's way too cold. In fact, I had to crank up my Stream Studios temp, and that's why I'm in long sleeves today. It's cold here, even in the ATL. Okay, so for her skirt, this is fringe, and it's 2-inch fringe, and I'm having a hard time finding these colors. I can find every color but green, it seems like. I mean, I can find Kelly green, but I don't really want a Kelly green skirt. I like the ones that look more natural. So I have found I forget what this one's called. I think this is grass green, and then this one's sage green. And the sage green is the one I had been using, and I only have this much of it left. And that might make, well, they really kind of sealed that one off with a bunch of tape. I may not be able to get that off without it being too sticky. But I'll start from this end. And by the way, you do have to make sure that you tape it, as you can see here, to keep it. It will unravel. You see, it starts to come off. And then that's a lot of money to waste on the unraveling part. So make sure that your fabric store, they should do this for you, is tape that end off. Both ends. So I'm going to measure around. It's about 6 inches, I think, but let's measure. Measure twice, cut once. And I'm not even going to overlap it in the back. Maybe by a fraction. And that's how much we need for that. I'm going to hold my finger there and see what the measurement actually is. I love this, again, like I said, this cutting board, because it has the measurement on it. Each square is an inch. So yeah, it's about 6 inches that you need. And I don't actually have tape with me here. So I'm going to have to cut this and then set it aside carefully. And here's where you're going to use your glue gun. And again, Surebonder glue gun, I recommend. Surebonder needs to sponsor me. Okay, so let's go in here, and I'm going to give it a little more room than I had where my finger is, simply because I don't have the tape to seal it off, and I don't want it to see how it just peels apart so quickly. I'm going to tuck that aside, and I'll make sure that I tape that later when I get some tape over here. And then we're going to glue it on. We're going to glue on the back first, and I'm actually going to glue this part on because it is the one that I don't have the tape for. And I'm going to do this in stages. Hot glue. This is actually a dual temp glue gun, and I always use the mini. To make sure that you get a nice clean drop of glue, clear off the top part. And the way I do that, you can use anything that's obviously heat resistant. But I have this rubber pad that I use that's heat resistant, and it's usually used to hold any drippings, but I use it to actually clean off the tip. And that's not too bad. I must have cleaned it off last time. I want this skirt to go right up under her arm, so I'm going to start in the middle. Make sure I have the front and back. There is a front and back to this. You can see that stitch is more finished, and that stitch is more the back. It doesn't really matter because we're going to cover it with some jute, some twine. But you know, let's make sure it's done right. So let's put it on correctly. You just need a line of hot glue. Be slow and steady. You don't want to get glue on any part that you're not gluing down. I'm going to make sure that I put that loose stuff right in the hot glue. because I do not want that to start unraveling. In fact, I might, let's just add a little bit of glue on this side. And if you don't want to use your fingers because it's hot, just you can use the tip of a screwdriver, or here I've got my hemostats. And let's just push those down. There. Now that glue will hold it in. There's a stray one, but that'll get covered up. And then we're going to slowly glue it around the front. And that's going to be her little hula skirt, her grass skirt. You don't need a lot. Again, these aren't meant to be played with. So unless someone really tugs and pulls on it, it shouldn't come off. She's coming together. Sure, Bunter, please. Oh, that's cold. 50s is way too cold. All right, I've overlapped that, but that's okay because we're going to put the glue down and make sure that it stays firmly, and then we'll trim it. In fact, we're going to trim it right where the tape ends, so that's perfect. I don't want to glue the tape on there. I'm going to go a little bit over the top there so it gets that piece that's loose. And I am pulling on this a little bit just to make sure it kind of fits her nicely. Then as soon as that glue is dry, which doesn't take long, you can blow on it if you want, I'm going to cut this part off, and then you'll see extra strands like this one coming off. Just gonna hold that for a second. Can you hear me okay, Rainick? Does it sound okay? I had to add microphone to my list of, I have this list of, a checklist of each of my streams of what to do. And I forgot check mic, so Tuesday night, Clover and I were running around trying to figure out why everyone could hear my producer and not hear me very well. And I was disappointed because that was a funny bit with the monkey. Okay, so I've just clipped the tip of that off, and there it goes. And some of these little strands might come off. Oh, it's staying on there with the glue. That's pretty handy. Okay, and there we've got the back of her little skirt ready for the jute. Now the jute's easy. I did 2 layers. Let me move this aside. I did 2 rows of jute. You can find this stuff at the hardware department of Home Depot or Lowe's, or I found this at Walmart. It's a lot of it, and it is very, very sturdy. I just like it because it looks natural. That's the whole idea. I try to make all my ornaments look not real, because obviously gingerbreads don't go around doing the hula, but just to make them look like if you were to dress up, I don't know. It's just me. I don't even know how much of this you need. Obviously, if it's 6 inches around and there's an inch on either side, and then enough to kind of give it a little, I didn't make a knot. I just sort of tucked it in and then hot glued it. So there wouldn't be a knot in the back. So let's say probably 8 inches, but let's give it a measurement first before we cut it. This stuff is very inexpensive. I think I got this whole row for a couple bucks. All right, so let's cut this one, and then we'll double it and see how many I've got here. For about 10 inches, maybe a little bit more. I'll probably end up trimming a little bit of it. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on the front. That little belt right there. Whoops. And she's a little chunky hula. She must have had some, I don't know, barbecue. gingerbread dolls eat or cookies eat barbecue. That sounds good. We never had nachos though. We need to have nachos one night. Okay, so I'm just going to tie that in just a simple, I'm not even going to tie the knot. I'm just trying to tuck the thread in itself and then put the hot glue one on it. You know what? That one's not going through, and I don't want to catch the grass skirt. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to pull that like that. Fix her skirt a little bit. And then I'm just going to lift it up and put some glue underneath. The whole thing there. And there we go. And then just hold it until it dries. And I'll probably trim that. It's a little long. All right. It doesn't take long for the hot glue, especially if you use a very high temperature one. You try not to let it be seen though, and you get some of these little ghost threads that come off. They call them little spider webs that come off. But you don't want to get hot glue on a piece of felt. If you do, I do have a solution, and let me find a piece of scrap that I can use to show you. I'll use this orange one. I think that'll be seen pretty well. This is a thin piece of felt. It is much thinner than the brown, so it won't work as well on this one. But if you get it on the brown felt, it will be a lot easier. So let's say that you get your felt accidentally on a piece of felt that you don't want. Like, let's say I accidentally stuck it, I don't know, on her foot. You can trim it off. Let's wait till it dries. It can be trimmed off with a fine pair of scissors, and I'll let that dry or cool off, I should say, and show you how to do that in a second. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is her little button. Let's trim this first. Her little button boobs. Jen was right. They do look like hot cross buns. Oh my goodness. Like I said, these buttons are plastic, but the original ones that I purchased, or the original ones that I used for this project, were from my Nana, and they were leather. They have a tab on the back. Obviously, these are coat buttons. They're meant to go on a coat. And I'm not going to take, I used to take those off, but now I decided that I could use them as extra stability. And the way I do that is once I cut a little hole, tiny little, not even a hole, just like a little poke where I want her coconut bra to go. And then I'm going to glue them in. And I like this little stability because I can put that right into the hole and then put glue around the outside, and there they go. So let's see, we want them to be, her coconut bra to be right about there. So I'm going to take my Sharpie. Oh, squeaky noise. And let's see, put them right there. Give a little, there's one. And there's the other. I know Twitch has a policy about not showing that on, but you know, that's okay. I think they'll be okay with a little gingerbread hula doll. So you saw that I made a very, very tiny snip in there. It's so tiny, but you can see it. If I go in there, you can see the space. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push glue into that and let it come out a little bit. I always make the swirly thing so that I don't get glue anywhere else, which I almost did. And then I'm going to push that tab in there, and we're going to glue around the outside after we get them centered, because there's a little maneuverability before that. But this sort of seals them in on the inside as well. I've got a little ghost hair there going. Got a couple. Okay. I'm pushing them in so that the fabric comes on the outside. Now they do stick up a little bit because they didn't go quite all the way in, but that's why we're going to go around the outside with the hot glue. Tuck that point in there so you don't get it on the fabric, on the felt, and just go around the outside. And I'm just going to hold that in before I start the next one. Now I'm singing hot cross buns in my head. You get yelled at. Oh my goodness. I saw the picture of what Layren is planning to work on tonight. It looks fantastic. I think that's going to take her longer than one night though. That's going to have to be a series. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to hold those in a little bit with my fingers, with my thumbs. And in the meantime, I'll show you what you can do with the felt. And this is only in extreme situations. It doesn't work great but it does help if you get glue on a part of the felt area of your ornament that you don't want. Felt is relatively thick. Like I said, you want to use the thicker felt that you get at fabric stores or craft stores. The felt that you get at Walmart is very, very thin. You can almost see through it. It won't work well on that one. But you can take your sharp scissors, sewing scissors. Now I'm not cutting the glue because I would never do that with my sewing scissors, but I'm going to go underneath and just clip the edge of the felt, the hairs of the felt holding that glue on there. Like that. And that will help get rid of some of that.
Ooh, you're here! Must be time for tea!
Hey, Lorena! Welcome to the stream. Okay, and you can see that you can still see through it a tiny bit because this is the thinner one, but it did kind of save my ornament. If I had that glue mistake on there, it did sort of save it without having a big nasty strip of glue, hot glue on that felt. You can clip it. It does, like I said, work better with the thicker. Maybe I should have used this as a sample. You see how much thicker that felt is to that one. I don't know if you can tell. But anyway. Alright, so now we're almost done, Lorena. We're almost done with our little Hawaiian gingerbread hula girl. She's looking so cute with her hot cross bun boobs. Okay, so last week we cut out the flowers. And I showed you how you just cut them about 1.25 inches square, and then you go around the square, and you, well, it's just a thing I can do with the talent, I guess. I was able to just kind of go around. If you need a pattern, I definitely can draw this out for you. I decided that I'm giving all my Elder Plus patrons the pattern for this ornament. And I don't know about future ornaments, but definitely this one. And I will add the little, I don't know what kind of flowers these are. Some exotic flowers, but I'll add the pattern so that if you need it, you would have that, and you'll get this pattern as well, the body, plus a list of all the materials that I used. So, okay, so to get the flowers on there, what we're going to do is we're going to use white thread, and I'm telling you why we're using white because it's going to be covered with the glitter paint. And we're just going to use just regular sewing thread. It doesn't have to be quilting or thicker thread. And I'm going to need my readers on for this. And they're going to be glued onto the ornament. They're not going to be I need my readers on. They're not going to be sewn on there. But we need to sew them to pull them in, like I've done with this one here. Let me just prop her up so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I've gathered them into like a little grouping cluster. And if you want to try gluing them in place like that, you certainly can try that. I found that having them pre-gathered before I put them on with the glue saved me some anxiety about hoping that glue doesn't touch other parts of the ornament's face or anything else. So let's just move that aside. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to I'll put the knot in the middle, of course, on the back, and then I'm just going to go around and make a tiny little gathering stitch. This one does not have to be perfect. Like I said, it's going to be covered with the glitter paint. But you'll want to just make a tiny little circle around the inside and gather these flowers in. Oops. There we go. And let me just stretch that out to show you kind of what I did. And then I'm pulling it tight like that. And now it's gathered. And that was the idea, just to give them like a little bit of more three-dimension look. And then I'm going to tie it off in the back and do the same to the other ones. I always put 3 in her headband. And that one kind of caught the... I can hide that. I can hide that with the glue. And then 1 at her waist, just to kind of spread the colors out. Those cheerful Hawaiian colors. what is it they say? Mele Kalikimaka. That's what you had to sing when you're making this, little guys. No, I've got that song going through my head. It's one of my favorites of the holiday. I love the holiday season anyway. And it drives my family nuts when I listen to Christmas music in October. Especially Drake, he hates it. It's like it's not even Halloween yet. That's his favorite holiday. So I've gathered it, and I'm just going to do what I've done before to create a knot. Go through the fabric a little bit, make a loop, run it through. Voila. Easy peasy. Next week, I'll go ahead and announce this while I'm working on the other two flowers. Thanks to Rainick and Twisted from this stream, they have asked or voted on, I guess, an ornament of a pig. And Twisted actually has a story behind that because he has a screen name or something that he's known by as Mr. Pig, or I don't know. All my kids call him Mr. Pig. So he kind of voted on that one and raised that one for vote himself, and it got voted in. So we're going to do a pig, but I decided that we're going to do a Valentine's Day pig. And we'll work on it next week, and then again on the 14th, Valentine's Day. So seasonal and appropriate. So I've found a pattern that I like, and I've tweaked it. I found a picture I like, and I'm going to tweak it to a pattern. I should say that because it is my own design off of a picture that I found that I thought was adorable. And instead of having a Christmas theme to it, it will have more of a Valentine-y theme with maybe some hearts or flowers or roses. I don't know, something. But I'll get that all those tools and supplies ready and share that with everyone on my Discord channel. If you're a part of my Discord channel, you'll also get other information there about my other streams that I work on. My next one is tomorrow night at 7. I write D&D campaigns, homebrew campaigns with the help of my audience. Last Friday we had a blast. The party that is going to be doing our campaign, if they ever do, are in for a treat. I don't know. They threw everything but the kitchen sink at this party, and these are newbies, so they may not live through this campaign. It depends on the mercy of their dungeon master. But we had a good time putting it together, and that story continues tomorrow night at 7 o'clock here on Twitch. Okay. And of course, all my videos are then posted up to YouTube, so all the links for that are below in this Twitch. Okay, so I've gathered all these flowers, and the knots are in the back, which we will hide with the glue when we glue them to the doll, and then we'll hide the top part stitching with this paint, and that'll go on last because it does take a little while to dry, just like the slick smile did with the icing there, the icing smile. I think that's going to be it. We've done everything else. Yeah, just the flowers. She's looking so cute. Okay, so let's see. This one I had orange, yellow, or gold, and fuchsia, and then the salmon one there. You like that? Or you want to do it a different way? Yay, pig! Should we do them in the same order? Maybe I'll swap these two. Because then it'll put the reddish ones at a diagonal from each other. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so I'll do the ones on top first. And I'm going to hold the flowers like I did when I was sewing them. And I'm going to glue them on like that. And the reason why is because some of that glue is going to catch in those little crevices there and keep the gather going. And then we can fluff it out later. You know what I'm going to do, though? I'm going to do the yellow one first. I learned this in high school journalism. When you put a sign together or put a headline together to make sure it's centered, you work on the center first and then work out. So when I make a sign like a yard sale sign, it's 4 letters, a space, and 4 letters for yard sale. You make sure that the space is in the middle and you work backward from the middle. So yard would go this way, D-R-A-Y. I could do it backward, and then S-A-L-E. And then you'd have a nice not yard sit and then not have room for the Ellie. So that's just here. There's a little sage mom advice for you. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that that does not touch the ribbon that the ornament hook goes through. I put a little bit of glue on there and make sure the thread gets in there and squish it down and hold it. Like I said, I want that glue to get in those the crevices of the felt, the nooks and crannies. And it doesn't take much. There we go. And we'll do the pink one to the left. Now I can also put the glue on the actual flower. This piece is big enough to do that. Some pieces that I work with are too small to try to hold in your hand and then apply. I'm going to put that right up next to it, a little bit under it, so that they support each other. Like that. They kind of run into each other with their little flowers. And then let's do this one. Oops, I'm running out of glue. I use mini glue sticks. Buy them by the bulk. For my Sure Bonder glue gun. Sure Bonder, sponsor me. I'll hold that there. And I just realized that yellow flower, I must have had a pattern or drawn something on the other side because there's little black marks on the other side. So I'm just going to trim those off. I could cut other ones, but I've already glued these on. And I'm just going to trim around that and take that part off. It's not going to alter the design too much. Sorry, I know you can't see that very well with me, my head in the way. There. That flower is still just as pretty. In fact, I like that better. I like the way it sticks up better than the original one. These are kind of laying a little flat. I like the dimension that has on it. Okay, and then we are going to put the other color, the last color, on her skirt. Probably on the side here. And same thing, gather it up. Let's get the threads in there to hide. I want to get the threads on the back to hide. I'm going to take this little one off because that might not hide if I put the glue on on that one. See how I just brought that glue up to the thread to hide it? Alrighty. There we go. Oh, isn't she pretty? Okay, and it's done except for the glitter paint. Now, glitter paint. If you ever worked with it before, it is fun and annoying because sometimes it spurts out and sometimes it gets stuck. And if you squeeze too hard, it all comes out. So again, we want to test it. I'm looking around right now for something to test it on. Let me get some paper towel. Here, I'll get some from last Tuesday's crafts. That's why you see paint all over it. Some black paint. We were making halfling huts. That's what I make on Tuesday nights. I make Dungeons and Dragons terrain. And we're working on a halfling village. So I'm making these tiny little huts. Okay. So, if I'm lucky, this will just come out because it's perfect. But probably it's going to be stuck. Oh, look at that. I'm lucky. It just came right out. If it gets stuck, if it gets left out or something and it causes a blockage in there, you can pop this part out and use a pin and just dig in there and clean it out, and then it should come more freely flow. Freely flow? Boy, that's hard to say. What? Qyjari. Are you yelling at me? Oh, I already have paint on that one. Are you yelling at me for saying spurts out? Sorry. It's a PG channel. Okay. So that's our last step. Let's go ahead and put that in there. What time is it? This is a record time for finishing up a project. I'm going to put a little bit of... Now that won't dry. See how it looks white? It'll dry clear. It'll dry just like this one, except the glitter will show through. That's why it looks like there's a lot on there. but when it dries, it'll just be a beautiful shiny glitter on there. And this one. Ta-da! And that's it. You just let it sit, probably a day, maybe longer. And your hula gingerbread hula is complete. Now you just need a tree to hang it from, or your windshield, or whatever you'd like to do. But she is done. And that didn't take long at all. I just got my finger in that. I haven't even started drinking today, folks. This was our before, and this is our after. And I do like the brown eyes better. And I love them wider apart. I think that's cute. So what do you think? You love it? I do. If you would like to win this little cutie, you can. If you've chatted in chat today, you actually have an extra chance at winning. If you chatted in last week's channel, Twitch stream, then you have a chance. If you post on Facebook, my Aunt Anne's Tree Facebook page, I believe the link is below, at the very bottom right, there, I can't point, there, at the bottom of this list right here. Then you can have another chance to win. If you respond to my post on Twitter, you get another chance to win. And if you win, I'll let you choose the one I made, the one I had made already, the original one, or the one we made on the stream. You can pick which one you like. But thank you very much to everyone who came to watch. And thank you, Rainick, always for supporting me and for being a patron and for being a moderator on this channel. And Leyrena, thank you again. Tonight at 7 o'clock, Leyrena has her stream. She does these really cool steampunk crafts. She's made a wind chime. She's made an angel. And tonight I believe she's making a wrist cuff that goes up to the finger, which is really cool looking. I saw the preliminary idea she had on that. So that will be, it's a new piece, yeah, starting tonight at 7 o'clock over on her channel. And if you watch till the end on my thank you channel, you will see the link there. And it's really easy to find. It's just twitch.tv/Leyrena. And thank you all for joining me. Next Tuesday, of course, is Miramore at 7. And tomorrow night, 3 Sheets One Shot. We continue our D&D one-shot campaign. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. Have a great rest of your day.